Look, going into this week, I think it's important. We talked about some stocks that we like potentially for the bounce. Now, I want to say right now, I am not long on any of these names. I'm watching how we react. I will say my gut, I would still like to see downside across the board. Okay. However, if things change and we start to see a flip, these are 5 names that I think are pretty affordable, that have a lot of potential, and they're all on massive levels. It's kind of like all the check boxes that we want to be filled looking at them. So it's important that we understand that. But to give you a better viewpoint of what you want to see on the broad market before you start slamming calls, right? Because you ended the week in a really good spot. But let's talk really quickly about what you want to see before we start hammering and we go into those names. SPY is sitting at the 100 MA. If the SPY gets back below the 100 MA here, the green line, 100 daily moving average, I don't really want to be long. I'll tell you that right now. Okay, crystal clear, right? Crystal light, crystal clear. Q's already still below it, as you can see. IWM still in a world of pain below your key level. You can see you're at some monster levels, okay? But as we go into the names, you'll see why I'm interested, why I think it's important we talk about them, okay? I'll go no particular order, okay? Number 1, Alibaba. Mentioned Baba a lot. You guys know. Number 1, the big deal they have with Apple, what they're doing there. I still think it's a good overall name. If you look at Baba in general, from the beginning of like last week, I mean, you still had a decent week. You still held up. It wasn't like a bad overall time here. You go to the weekly chart here. The chart's really ugly, but you can see great week previously, kind of finished mid-tier there as well. Now going back into the 4-hour chart, 2-hour, whatever you're going to look at. It's only ugly because of all the gaps. That's why I'm saying that. But you're still, in theory, putting in higher lows. That's what you want to see. They're kind of making a pennant here, and I hate making a pennant with gaps. That's the most ugly thing I could say. But I still think China is strong. Now, ideally, you'd like to see coming back into 139, mounting that level. Going into higher timeframes like the weekly. If you hold above 139, my next target is into 152. And again, I love what's happening there. As long as we're above 120, you're also a big fan. If you start to dip, I'll be patiently waiting for 120. But again, one of the names I'm watching for, still a fan. I still think Baba looks pretty decent. You go to the daily chart as well. You can see volume was kind of down ticking throughout the week. That is worth mentioning. So buyers were more active in the market. Sellers really weren't that active at all here. And again, I think you had opportunities to dip. You just didn't dip. You would gap down, then gap back up. It is what it is, right? So again, what I'm looking for there on Baba. Another big name is HIMS. HIMS is more interesting. Again, you came to some pretty big levels. Now, the first one that you would like to see was happening right here, right? You came back in, you wicked to like 44, 45, you went back up, and then you dropped back down, right? But ultimately, you mounted your previous level, you can see here as well, around 34 to like 35.5, $36, right? About a $2 range. You came into it, you bounced off it, you're coming back into this level. Now, as this week develops, I think you're gonna have a lot of interesting opportunities here because, again, for a more of a day trade, whatever you want to do there, again, you're looking for a push back near the $51, $52 region up there. So if you start getting above 46, 46.5, you start to look for that uptick, that push back into that level up there as well. But I still think HIMS is a really good overall position long term. I like what they're doing. But again, when you start to see IWM, you start to see what's happening to the NASDAQ, it causes more concern. So that's why I'm saying, like, when I go look at IWM, where are you at? Why did I mark this level? You can see those previous lows there back from October, right? Clear as day level, right? You're just kind of coming back into it. And why is it important that you're coming back into it? Because if we're ever looking for shorting opportunities, what you would like to see is a break, retest, continuation, ideally, right? So again, I'm going into this week with the mentality of I want to see more downside. I prefer to see more downside. However, if buyers step in, I am prepared, right? This is my list of buying opportunities out there for swing trades. So again, how you have to view the market, how you have to prepare, how I prepare. So again, HIMS is one of those names I just really like. Mid cap, fundamentally, I think they're doing really good. Their earnings were pretty decent as well. You dropped on earnings, even despite having good earnings. And then also, too, I think the fear with HIMS is, again, the Ozempic drug. There was basically a lack of overall. There was a supply issue, and so they were able to charge a little bit more. So there's a question of, is that going to affect their business in a negative sense? HIMS is acquiring more companies, getting more at-home testing. So they're trying to branch out as well. So good thing. But I do think that the Ozempic drug is one of the big catalysts for for HIMS in the short term as well. It's been the big breadwinner for most of these pharmaceuticals. Food for thought, though, you look at names like Eli Lilly, J&J, they're all performing very good despite what's happening with the market right now. So I still like HIMS quite a bit. The next one is Reddit. I still think Reddit's pretty expensive. It's just I think you're going to get a bounce sooner than later. And you are basically at two of those levels right now. So in my opinion, this was our previous resistance that we had, and we broke out. You went crazy from like 180 into 230. Awesome run, right? But now you're back down at this like little range down here, your little previous high to where you broke into this range. So again, 158, 157, give or take, you're holding that level now. You do have room back towards 180. So again, if we start finding buyers, that could happen. The other thing too is you have the 100 MA here as well. So you have basically two lines of defense and a clear line of where this trade turns bad. Because if you start to lose the 100 MA, you know how I feel. You never see good things happen when you break major moving averages. This could start dumping down towards, 132, possibly even into this range here around 139, 140. So again, the risk reward makes sense. I like where you're at. As long as you hold this area, you look really good. Buying starts to show up. It could get volatile. Buyers should step in aggressively here as well. Again, my personal opinion there. ARM, it's a semiconductor name. A lot of you guys are always asking, like, what do you think, guys, about AMD? What do you think about, TSM, these other names, right? Now, it's interesting that we always are trying to find a mid-cap name that gives us big win opportunity, okay? And I think ARM is one of the only mid-cap, or is not really a mid-cap. It's a large cap, but it's smaller than some of the other names. But it's one of the only names that gives you the potential to make money, like HIMS and these other names as far as PLTR, etc., but in the semiconductor space, and they're not just hype, right? Again, what are you doing here that has me excited? Now, you are below some of your major levels, your 200 and your 100 daily move. That's not good. That is not good. What I will say, though, that is good. You're still in the realm of making higher lows. That is where you're at. You're still there. You have to love that. You have to respect it. So I think that you're really beaten up here on ARM, but I would not be surprised to see ARM get some love, get some buying, potentially back towards that 100 and 200 MA near 142, 145. That's going to be the sweet spot there. Now, again, it's important that we understand what happened at the end of the week. We saw NVIDIA, we saw semis get a little bit of a bounce. Pretty aggressive bounce to end the week, right? Pretty aggressive that last 2 hours, 3 hours of trading, right? So it's what you want to see. So for ARM, if NVIDIA can start to reclaim that 200 daily moving average here, right around 126, 127, right? I think ARM follows suit and gets some love off that as well. Again, ARM has had some pretty good deals as well being developed. That's why we recently pushed back into that 180, 170 level. But again, you're kind of pulling back now. So again, keep my head on a swivel, watching closely. But again, one of those names I'm watching also. The last name I'll mention here is going to be Robinhood. I mentioned this, posted in Discord, posted on Twitter. Discord link's also down below if you're interested. Check it out if you want. But again, Robinhood making the inverted head and shoulders has been looking pretty decent. You did have a little bit of a pullback from Thursday into Friday, and then you kind of held up there overall. I still like Robinhood as long as it gets and holds above $50. I think you have room towards 54, then around $56 as well. It's one of the earnings that was pretty interesting. I still think Robinhood short term, probably like next few months. Again, let me be very clear. Over the next few months, I do expect downside. Based off of tariffs and everything that's happening out there, I fully expect downside. But what I'll say in the short term is that you have some money-making opportunities, especially if you start to get a relief bounce from the market. So that's why I'm preparing for these equities, things I'm looking at here. Now, Robinhood goes back in those levels. It's going to be interesting. But what I will say, if you start to break back below 50, and I like Robinhood so much because the levels are so clear here, you start to break back down, you're looking back towards that 100-day moving average near $40 as well, possibly even towards 44 to be a little bit more conservative. We can see you've got that bounce there as well, which was that previous high before you broke out there as well. So again, things I'm looking at, things I'm watching, nothing too crazy. Some honorable mention names I'll mention are going to be like Upstart, which is just grinding on its 100-day moving average. I do love to see that. Again, this has room back into 72, possibly into 79. So definitely would be watching this as well, coming into that level there. But again, you can see finding buyers time and time again off this point. If you lose this level, I do expect selling to the downside. So stops are very clear, trades very clear. Another name here is PayPal. I'd be watching PayPal pretty closely. Didn't have a good reaction from earnings, been dropping pretty dramatically, but you're coming into your major level, okay? Again, $68, $69. We talked a lot about this level. This was the breakout point to where you had your monster upside, and you're getting a retest of this level. So I want to see the reaction. Potential to retest, come back into the 200 SMA for a break and retest. We'll see. But again, what I'd be watching, charts on my radar. Again, these will be posted on Twitter too. I'll have more breakdowns going into there. But again, overall, what I'm watching on the week. But I can't be like more, and again, like I repeat myself a lot, but it's in hopes that people don't just take one part of what I say and just run with it. I'm very much so watching what's happening with indexes, what's happening with SPY, what's happening with Qs, because again, you have to see your indexes get love before you expect these equities to get love. So if I see the S&P 500 with continued selling, then I'm scrapping it. I'm not looking for upside. I'll just keep trading the downside. The scalps have been good on names like Nvidia and semiconductors and Tesla, even Apple if you get back below 237. But I want to be prepared for that upside as well. So again, if Nvidia is not able to remount the 100 MA, like I'm continuing to trade the downside. I'm not looking to trade ARM. If IWM rejects here, I might not want to trade Robinhood. I might not want to go long on HIMS if you continue to reject and make lower highs and you don't get that sign of buyer. So where my head's at, my mentality, what I'm thinking here. But again, if you have questions, comment down below. See you guys later. Have a good weekend. Hope you had a good weekend, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.